Hello and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the southeast. The parents from Sussex hoping to raise £2.5 million in 6 weeks to try to save their unborn daughter who has half a heart.
I'm doing what any other father would do who loves their kids. Fight for them, give your life for them, do whatever you can for them.
Southern Water promises big changes as Ramsgate residents tell them they have to stop releasing sewage into the sea.
Also this Friday, hoping to soar to the Winter Olympics. The 18-year-old from Tunbridge training to represent Team GB in the women's skeleton.
And 1, 2, 3, how many tulips are there in the grounds of Arundel Castle? And is it tulip viewing weather? Join me later.
Good evening. The parents of an unborn baby girl from Sussex who has a rare heart condition say they have just 6 weeks to save her life with specialist surgery.
Rob Velez and Sophia Fenrich were told by NHS doctors the left side of their daughter's heart is essentially missing, with survival rates of a post-birth procedure slim.
They're now desperate to go to Texas in America for treatment and are hoping to raise the £2.5 million that's needed.
Holding a picture from their scan and clinging on to hope.
Somehow I'm gonna find a way.
Robin Sophia's unborn baby is missing the left side of her heart. The condition, hyperplastic left heart syndrome, and its diagnosis, devastating.
It's just like time stopped. You know, the flickering of the lights, the clock ticking, and all of a sudden you realize that you're that family, right? So you read about these stories, you obviously have empathy for people who go through it, but it was like the end of the world. We both give our life for our daughter.
We love her.
Absolutely, we love her.
She has a name, it's Dorothea, and
she's already part of our family.
I mean she is like whenever she's with her brother sister, she's happy. She's kicking. I can feel. She's a member of our family, so it's never an option to give up.
Doctors at this London hospital have told Rob and Sophia Dorothea's survival rate is between 5 and 10% if she has surgery after she's delivered.
When they're born, they become very breathless and very ill very quickly after birth. So they usually have their first operation within sort of the first few days of life. Otherwise, without that oxygen-rich blood going around the body, they won't survive. So they do get operated on very soon in life.
To drastically increase Dorothea's chances, Rob and Sophia are trying to raise £2.5 million within weeks, covering the cost of complex and pioneering surgery in Texas to rewire the baby's veins and arteries.
When Rob rang us and explained the situation, that has evolved and it's now 3 operations rather than 2, and also an operation that Dorothea will have to have while still in the womb. And this is groundbreaking, really delicate surgery that no surgeon in the UK can actually undertake. So the family have to go abroad, they have to go to Texas to get what they need to save Dorothea's life.
I'm doing what any other father would do who loves their kids. Fight for them. Give your life for them, do whatever you can for them. I mean, the greatest gift in life has been being a parent. Oh, I got it.
2-year-old Bathsheba is waiting for the arrival of her little sister too. But if enough money can't be raised, Rob and Sophia fear nobody will ever get to meet her. James Dunham, ITV News, Forest Row.
A residential home in Deal has been put in special measures with care inspectors calling for improvements. Sonia Lodge cares for 28 older people who live with dementia. The Care Quality Commission found there wasn't enough staff to care for residents. One resident told inspectors they hadn't gone to the toilet in 4 days. An inspection will be carried out in 6 months to see if improvements have been made.
The trial of a teenager accused of murdering his grandmother in Brighton has collapsed. Pietro Addis, who's 19, denies murdering well-known Brighton restaurant owner Sue Addis at her home in Withdean in January last year. A new trial will start next week.
A bin strike planned for the Wealdon Council area in Sussex on Monday has been paused, while GMB union members consider an 11th hour pay proposals put forward by the Joint Waste Partnership service provider. It follows bin strikes in Brighton and Hove and Worthing. GMB union members will meet on Monday to discuss the offer.
Children with special educational needs in Kent have been left without their usual taxi to school following the Easter holidays.
Parents have called the problems chaotic and disgraceful, with some youngsters missing lessons as a result.
It follows widespread issues with the system 2 months ago after the County Council negotiated new contracts with minicab firms. Kit Bradshaw has the story.
The start of the new school term has left a sour taste for this family after they were left without a crucial ingredient in their daily routine.
I got Harry out of bed. He was very reluctant because he wasn't keen on going back to school.
Nope.
We were ready for his usual pickup at 7:35, and by 8:10 we were getting a bit concerned.
I was pacing through my mum's office, watching YouTube. I was pacing back and forward.
It was.
I was getting very anxious.
At about 9:10 I managed to get hold of someone and rang me back and said, yeah, there's been an issue and it slipped through the net and there won't be a taxi today.
16-year-old Harry from Sittingbourne was one of a number of children with special educational needs or disabilities whose usual taxi to school never arrived on Tuesday. For him, it meant a day of missed lessons.
Children with autism like routine and they don't like last-minute change. And it's quite unfair, knowing that these are children with additional needs.
I don't like change.
No, you don't like change.
I hate it. It's the worst thing on earth to have to experience.
Have a good day. Love you.
On the Isle of Sheppey, a cab did turn up to collect 12-year-old Logan on Wednesday. But 24 hours earlier, it was a different story.
If it wasn't for us ringing the taxi people ourselves, we'd still been sitting here with our children in their school uniform waiting to go to school. And it's not acceptable. I don't think they're actually that bothered about it. I think the local authorities at the moment are very much fixed on saving money. It's not about the children as individuals, it's about them as statistics, it's about them as bums on the seats. And I don't think they should be treated like that.
It was just 2 months ago that hundreds of families with children with special educational needs across Kent faced disruption to their school runs when the County Council attempted to renegotiate all of their taxi contracts. Those problems are now at the centre of an internal review. In response to this week's issues, a Kent County Council spokesperson told us, "We sincerely apologise that due to an isolated administrative error, these children were not picked up for school on Tuesday. The situation was rectified immediately and parents will be reimbursed for travel expenses incurred in getting their children to school. We are taking steps to review our processes so we can ensure this failure is not repeated."
Difficulties with transport is not a new thing, unfortunately.
One organisation which is supporting affected families says wider change is required.
Families have lost trust within the processes in KCC, and sadly, from what we're hearing, the same difficulties are there. The trust isn't there. They need to, really build that up from the ground up again.
Harry has now got a new taxi firm to get him to and from school, the 5th provider in as many years for this family, who hope they won't be left stranded again. Kit Bradshaw, ITV News, Sittingbourne.
More than 100 people attended a public meeting with Southern Water bosses in Ramsgate last night to call for action after repeated sewage releases into the sea.
Southern Water insisted improvements are on the way as the public called for more transparency and demanded to know how the company planned to improve its tarnished record. Sarah Saunders has more.
Campaigners in Ramsgate have been calling for this public meeting with Southern Water bosses for months. After repeated sewage releases into the sea washed away trust, they want to know how the company plans to clean up its act.
The meeting's about to start. What do you want to get out of it?
Right, well, I'm quite optimistic because I think we have Southern Water in a position now where they know they have to make a difference and have to actually come up with some changes.
Our cameras weren't invited inside. But at an occasionally heated, though largely amicable meeting, Southern Water said it was making massive investment to improve the sewage system.
We've asked them for some more funding so that we can keep the beaches properly clean from Joss up to Palm Bay for the rest of the summer through to the autumn. They've promised it. Let's hope they deliver.
From the public, calls were made for compensation for businesses. Water testing, so swimmers would know when the sea becomes safe after a sewage release, and improved communication from Southern Water.
We need more information now. As a sea swimmer who swims all year round, I want to know when the sea's safe to swim in, and at the moment I can't access that information.
Having addressed the public meeting, Southern Water CEO Ian Macaulay was not available for interview. Southern Water insists it's turning the tide on sewage releases, but it will take more than one public meeting to make up for their soiled record in this coastal community. Sarah Saunders, ITV News, Ramsgate.
Southern Water wasn't available for interview, as Sarah said in her report, but a statement said, "We're going to set up a stakeholder group to ensure our customers in the area hold us to our promises and help us protect and deliver the environment we all want and they deserve."
A man's been arrested after a woman was injured at a house in Crawley this week. The 33-year-old woman received wounds caused by a bladed weapon at an incident on Warren Drive off Ifield Avenue on Wednesday morning. Officers traced the 33-year-old man to a hotel in Gatwick. He was arrested on suspicion of false imprisonment and GBH and possession of a Class A drug.
More than 200 motorcyclists have led a funeral procession from Brighton to Worthing to pay tribute to a local biker. Daniel Kinsella, who was 25, died in hospital last month, 2 days after a crash in Portslade. He worked for a motorcycle parts dealer in Southwick. This afternoon, the cavalcade of bikers left the centre of Brighton and on to Worthing Crematorium. Dan's family and friends said he would be remembered as a bright light in this world.
Police have released CCTV of two men sought in connection with the theft of bikes in Three Bridges. The footage shows two men use bolt cutters to cut through locks before fleeing on the bikes. Anyone with information is urged to come forward. You're watching ITV News Meridian. Still to come.
Soaring to the Winter Olympics, the Tunbridge teenager training to represent Team GB in the women's skeleton.
And the tulips of Arundel Castle. The team here has planted over 1 million spring bulbs over the years, and it's certainly been worth it. Join me shortly.
Look forward to it. Remember, you can find more on today's top stories from right across the southeast by going to our website, itv.com/Meridian. You can call us, our number is on the screen, or follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
Now, there are calls for laws on fertility treatment in this country to be updated. The fertility regulator, the HFEA, say it has concerns about the sale of extra treatment alongside IVF.
Yes, it says they're often expensive and have varying success rates for patients, most of whom are privately funding their treatment. The regulator says patients may be better off buying more rounds of IVF rather than paying for add-ons. Here's Kevin Ashford.
Jodie Nicholson had been trying to get pregnant for 6 years before she and her husband paid £10,000 for IVF treatment. It worked after the first cycle, and 2 years ago, Nell was born.
A lot of people really struggled to understand how much it became my world. That was it. I would have done anything to be a mum. You do just take for granted that when the time comes, you'll just make a baby, and then when it gets to that time, actually for a lot of people that's not the case. It's hard work.
During her IVF treatment, Jodie, who's written a book about her experiences, paid an extra £800 for what's called an add-on, in her case a private chamber where her embryos were kept. Add-ons cover a wide range of extra treatments, both surgical and non-surgical. Kerry Barden-Tillier from Tenterden has worked in the fertility industry for 8 years. helping more than 400 couples and individuals to conceive. She believes add-ons should be regulated.
There are certain people that are always going to need IVF, and thankfully we have that wonderful process happening. But what we need to make sure is that when the cycle is happening, that people are protected and they're getting the best information from their cycle so they know what is likely to work and what isn't going to work.
In a survey just released by the Human Fertility and Embryology Authority, 65% of IVF patients questioned said they'd used add-ons. Of those, just 46% said they'd felt the cost involved had been made clear, and only 33% said their clinic had explained any potential risk of the add-on. The HFEA says over the last 5 years it's been working to reduce the role of add-ons.
Some of these cost a lot of money. And I know that for many people money is tight, particularly at this time of year, is often your money will be better spent having more rounds of conventional, if you like, standard IVF than having fewer rounds of particularly expensive IVF with these additional add-on treatments.
Laura Rose Thorogood runs an organisation that helps LGBTQ people who are looking to conceive. She says it can be a stressful time.
People are coming to us, they're in a state of panic, they're worrying their time's going to run out, they've spent an exponential amount of money to get to this point, and they just really want a baby, they want to get pregnant. So they're willing to pay whatever it takes to do so, so they will go down the route of add-ons. What the clinics need to ensure is that they're giving the right information, using the appropriate language to ensure that people understand and appreciate the medical side of it.
The HFEA has designed a traffic light system that rates add-ons for patients based on clinical research. The authority says it doesn't want to see an outright ban on add-ons, but stresses that patients should be given as much information about them as possible. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
Well, over to Nikki Baker from the Advertising Standards Authorities. So, Nikki, how do you monitor fertility clinics with these extras that are on offer?
Well, last year we issued what we call an enforcement notice to the industry to remind IVF clinics of their obligations under the UK ad rules. And right now we're proactively monitoring websites to make sure that they are abiding by our rules. And any ads that we see that are breaking the rules, we will not hesitate to ban.
Is it not up to the medical professionals, rather than yourselves, to regulate themselves in effect?
As you can imagine, it's an incredibly tightly regulated industry by government, but when it comes to advertising, these consumers are in a very vulnerable place, and IVF is an incredibly complex purchase to make because the financial and emotional stakes are so incredibly high. It might be the most important thing that someone buys in their entire life. So it's our responsibility as a UK ad regulator to make sure that these vulnerable consumers are advertised to in a way that is fair and not misleading.
So how can you make sure clinics are advertising appropriately and that vulnerable women desperate for a child don't feel pressured into buying these add-ons?
To be clear, we don't regulate the actual treatments themselves, but we do regulate the advertising of them. And we are very clear with clinics that because there's actually a pretty limited evidence base for many of these treatment add-ons, they need to make consumers fully aware of A, the evidence base, and B, the risks associated with a treatment add-on, so that consumers can make an informed choice and decision that's right for them.
Nikki Baker from the Advertising Standards Authority, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the ITV Evening News continues with the national and international news at 6:30 with more Charlene White.
Missed opportunities to save the 7-year-old boy who died alone. Today, Hakeem Hussein's mother was convicted of his manslaughter. She'd used his inhaler to take drugs as he gasped for air. More of Boris Johnson's own MPs break rank and call on him to resign. In the Madeleine McCann case, an official suspect's been declared, but is it really a breakthrough? And while the cost of your fish supper is going up. Join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
Right, let's jump straight into the sport with Sarah Gom. And Sarah, 2 games to go in League One. Can Gillingham survive this season?
Quite something, wouldn't it, Andrew? But we do hope so, yes. With just 2 games to go, Gillingham sit just a point above the drop zone. And Neil Harris's team know that victory at Portsmouth tomorrow would edge them closer to pulling off what once looked to be a near impossible escape from relegation.
Going into the last 7 days of the season on Saturday, but we're outside of relegation zone that everyone presumed would be relegated by this stage of the season. So lads are really good. Reminded them this morning with some stats on how well we've done, and just the stats I remind them of is that if the league table started from the 1st of February, we'd be 12th.
And also tomorrow, Crawley travel to Mansfield in League 2, while Brighton play on Sunday when they host Southampton at the Amex. And it's a match largely about pride, with the team sitting in mid-table. The Seagulls currently just a point above Saints.
Obviously, it's better for us the higher we are up there, and we want to keep pushing forward, but step by step we'll do it. I think we've made steps this season. And it's been a tough season as well, I think, because of different things that have happened. We've had injuries to key players that we've managed to navigate through. But now it's just about trying to finish as strong as we can. 5 games, really exciting games, starting with a home match, so we're looking forward to it.
Now away from football, and an 18-year-old student from Tunbridge is aiming to strike gold as a Winter Olympian. Isabella Fasnage is one of 7 hopefuls who've qualified for an intense training programme to represent Great Britain in women's skeleton. The teenager's goal is to make it to the next Winter Olympics, which are taking place in Milan and Cortina in 2026. Here's Tom Savides.
Small businesses and local teams, the heart of our communities. eBay sponsors ITV Regional Sport Reports.
Go, 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 go!
She certainly is going. Hopefully to the next Winter Olympics. Isabella Fasnage is in the fast track of the women's skeleton. The 18-year-old A-level student has gold in her sights in Italy in 2026.
I'm doing the Europa Cup this season, so I'll be travelling around Europe, competing different competitions, hopefully trying to get medals so I can move up next season to higher and higher and hopefully get to the Olympics in the 4th year.
The training is intense. It also brings her back to the athletics ground at Tunbridge School Centre, where she used to compete in the 400 metres. She, like many others, has crossed over to the skeleton from track and field sports.
For power and speed, so the first 30 metres of a skeleton is running with the skeleton but sprinting 30 metres, so training on the track kind of sort of replicates it.
How many reps have you done tonight?
Her trackside coach thinks she has what it takes to make it big.
She came to me sort of 4 or 5 years ago and wanting to do 300 and 400 metres. So her capacity to actually work and do the training at that age was immense, basically. I mean, she never shirked a session. She was here every Tuesday, Thursday and Sunday, and just always did that extra rep or went the extra mile. So very, very, very determined.
Ian Presnell also having coached Lizzie Arnold, another skeleton racer from Kent, Britain's most successful Winter Olympian with 2 gold medals.
I think she's amazing. She's such an inspiration to me. I've always kind of looked up to her before I did skeleton.
Isabella Fasnage appears to be on the right track as she prepares to compete on the international stage for Team GB. Tom Savides, ITV News, Tunbridge.
Brilliant stuff. It's fair to say we don't get a huge amount of snow, but Kent really is becoming a breeding ground for Winter Olympians.
But just watching that, doesn't it always take your breath away? It's amazing. So thank you.
So brave. Now, they say Amsterdam is the place to head if your favourite flowers are tulips, but an array of the stunning blooms in different colours and varieties can be found much closer to home.
Yes, 1.2 million bulbs have been planted over the years in the grounds of Arundel Castle, and that's where we've sent our Holly this evening.
So, Holly, do you know your Oxford Red from your Passional?
I'm going to confess that I don't, but I know a lady who does. While we go and find her, let me tell you, this year 66,000 bulbs have been planted up and there are over 130 different named tulips. Well, joining me now is Daniela, one of the gardeners. Daniela, give me a sense of how you go about planting up 66,000 tulips.
Well, there's 8 of us on the team and it is a team effort. So the bulbs are delivered in October and we go about planting them all right up to Christmas time.
And what are your top tips for people that want to create a, maybe not similar display, but something nice for their gardens?
I'd say it's all in the soil. So the soil preparation is vital, getting all of those nutrients into the soil before you plant the bulbs to supply them with everything they need for growing successfully. Once they do start to grow, then watering, obviously. Never forget the watering.
Now, my director Marilyn has a specific question. When she cuts tulips and pops them in a vase, they often flop. What would you say to her?
Well, cutting them in the morning just after they've been watered so that they have plenty of water supply, but also a little pinch of salt and sugar into the water, into the vase. That helps them stand upright. But you could cheat, I suppose, and put a wire up the stem.
That does sound a bit like cheating. So just tell me then, although tulips are lovely, they're beautiful, they're lovely colours, they're not great for pollinators, but you've actually got an area of the garden that is really good for pollinators, and one particular bulb has been a huge hit with the insects and also the punters this year, hasn't it?
It has. That would be the Camassia. We planted over 20,000 Camassias throughout the grounds this year and also in the garden. So we have them in the herbaceous borders, they're looking stunning, and throughout the grounds.
Lovely. Thank you so much for joining me. From what I hear, that bulb is going to be the next big hit in our gardens. Having a look at the weather then, is it going to be good weather for flower viewing? Let's take a look.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
I think the thing you'll really notice this weekend is the wind. It's breezy today. That wind is a bit stronger as we head into tomorrow. Cloud will come and go. There will be some bright or some sunny spells though. A few showers perhaps, but they are most likely to come through overnight Saturday into Sunday. By day, I think, largely dry, but yes, we have got this wind with us. And the bigger picture shows us why. So quite a squeeze in the isobars. You've got a flow coming from the east or the northeast. So where you are exposed to that direction, into the coast, it will feel that bit chillier, of course. And then down to the south, you can see that low. That's generating these showers, which, as I say, may affect us at times into this weekend, especially overnight. Out there at the moment, though, it's generally dry, a fair bit of cloud around, but some brighter spells as well. But yes, we've got this breeze that continues to blow through the night tonight, and it continues to draw more cloud our way. A rogue shower possible. Most of us, they stay dry through the night, and you'll find the combination of the cloud and the breeze stops temperatures falling away too far. So generally values remaining in double figures, I think, for many. So far Saturday, a similar story in many respects. I think cloud will come and go through the course of the day, but this wind is a bit stronger. Into the coast, we could see gusts of 35, maybe 40 miles an hour for the most exposed locations. Temperatures, I think, getting a little bit higher than today. Dry through much of the day, but we could start to see some showers feeding in, especially into the evening and overnight. Our times of high water, we've got Brighton there at 4:31 and again at 5:19 into the afternoon. And finally, the outlook. Well, maybe a few showers here and there, as I say, on Saturday night, for example, maybe into the beginning of next week. Quite a brisk wind through the weekend. It does ease for next week, but temperatures start to fall away.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Holly, lots of our viewers love gardens like the one you're in, but tulips, they don't really smell, do they?
Oh, that is a very good question. Hang on a minute, let me find out. Ooh. Oh, they do. They do smell. Oh, yeah, they're quite nice, actually. If that's upset my hay fever, though, I am going to be a bit mad with you, Sangeeta.
OK, well, get home safely, and thank you for that. We enjoyed it very much. Well, in just a moment here, the ITV Evening News continues with Charlene White. Stacey Poole has your late update.
For now, though, from all the team here at ITV Meridian, have a great weekend. Thanks for watching.
Happy weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.